is well up in practice. In fact, in the warm-up this morning, Derek Warwick was 9th fastest in his turbocharged Tolman. He's very, very happy with the car, is Derek. And don't forget that he fought his way up to 2nd place in last year's British Grand Prix at Silverstone. At Brands Hatch, my apologies. And there's Warwick getting into the car. Well, as Warwick gets into his car, down in the pits are two very well-known racing personalities.
What do you think we're going today? Then you always know.
I always know who's going to win.
That's what people say. I don't believe them, but let's try again.
Well, since you've recognized it, Piquet.
I don't think so. I think no way Piquet. One of the Ferraris or one of the Renaults.
Oh, you want 4 cars?
No.
You want to choose 4 cars? One car.
I would say
I'm worried. I'm putting no money.
5 World Championships between them. Jackie Stewart and Niki Lauda talking to each other in very happy vein here at Silverstone, and so is everybody. But now let's have a look at the grid with, in pole position, René Arnoux in the Ferrari with the fastest lap ever, the fastest lap at a Grand Prix circuit, 151.8 miles an hour. Second in the lineup is Patrick Tambay, his teammate. Third is Alain Prost, who's leading the World Championship. And the G, incidentally, stands for Goodyear. The M stands for Michelin. And you will see 1 or 2 letter P's. They stand for Pirelli. And we put that indication there because tyres are going to be so very, very important in this race. Fourth, De Angelis on the grid. An incredible performance in the new John Player Special 94. Then Patrese 5th, Piquet 6th. Eddie Cheever in 7th place on the grid in the Renault. Then Manfred Winkelhock in the ATS. Andrea De Cesaris in the Alfa Romeo is 9th fastest. Derek Warwick, the fastest British driver there, in 10th position in the Tolman. Mauro Baldi, still with turbocharged cars. 12th is Giacomelli, and Rosberg, the top non-turbo car. And Stefan Johansson, driving in his first Grand Prix in the new Spirit Honda, its first Grand Prix, a superb 14th place. Niki Lauda only in 15th position. Nigel Mansell, who qualified in the previous turbocharged JPS, is down on the grid there. And look where John Watson is, because John Watson is 24th out of 26 starters. He's done it again, and he's going to have a chance to struggle, going to have a job to struggle through. Well, there's the championship. Alain Prost leading Tambay and Piquet by 3 points. Keke Rosberg only 5 points behind the leader, and that's an incredible performance. René Arnoux starting to build the points in 5th place. John Watson hanging on then there and hoping soon for the McLaren with the Porsche engine, which is turbocharged, in 6th position. And then Cheever, Lauda and Lafitte tying for 8th place. Now the Constructors' Championship is in many ways just as important. Renault and Ferrari tying, so it's a real needle match for leadership. Then the Williams team in 3rd position, Brabham and McLaren and Tyrrell, the points you see for yourselves. And incidentally, Piercarlo Ghinzani is not on the grid because when he left the pits to come round to it, his car gave trouble and he's stranded on the circuit. Well, any moment now, the warm-up lap.
Yeah, standard procedure on the warm-up lap. The cars will go around in grid formation with pole position man setting the pace. And there he is, René Arnoux, having set an absolutely blistering qualifying time. Run 9.4, which he did in the last 5 minutes of practice yesterday, and really surprised everybody. He saved his qualifying tyres till right at the end of the session, came out when the track conditions were probably at their best, and grabbed the pole quite comprehensively. As they go around, they'll be warming up their tyres and brakes. There they go, green flag, waving them away, and the usual story, round at Arnoux' pace, and then you'll bring them slowly onto the grid. When the last car at the back of the grid comes to a halt and takes up its position, then the starter will throw on the red light, another 4 or 5 seconds, and then we get the green. Here they are. They've gone round Cops Corner, up short straight through the kink, which of course is completely flat out for modern Formula 1 car, and down to Beckett's. Beckett's slowest corner on the circuit, but not very slow itself. They take Beckett's at about 110 miles an hour, so Silverstone is really a very fast circuit. It's got plenty of corners. The straights, funnily enough, aren't that long. This is the Hangar Straight, which is the equal fastest part of the circuit, where the turbos now get up to probably 185 miles an hour, something like that, with their massive quantity of power that they put out, even quicker in qualifying when they've got their Stowe corner, very fast indeed. They're round Stowe at something like 150 miles an hour. Very good place to watch. That's a good, nice camera position we've got there. You'll see the cars once they're going for it, really sliding off the apex of that corner. Drivers turn through now down to Club Corner. The entry to this corner is very, very important. The road undulates a bit, and you need to be turning fully when you get on the upslope of the undulation, as it were, to get the tires to really bite, to get the weight in. Down there through the kink again, which of course is flat out except when the track is wet. Coming up to the bridge, and you'll see that Arnoux has slowed it right down. It's important to do that because it takes a while he wants the field to bunch up, so the chap on at the back of the grid arrives as soon as possible after he's sitting there, because these cars don't like to sit still for too long. They don't have any fans in their radiators. They depend on moving through the air, so the engine starts to overheat, especially in this weather. If the engine temperature is rising all the time when they sit still, and of course they'll have the car in gear. They don't want the clutch dragging for too long, because that can overheat. So Poleman does not want to sit with the car in gear and the engine revving stationary for too long. So there is René Arnoux, who averaged 152 miles an hour for his qualifying lap of 1 minute 9.4, which is really quite something, because this circuit has got enough corners to get in the way.
67 laps then, the 36th British Grand Prix, organised as ever, flew perfectly by the RAC, Motorsports Association. There they are, the lights are going on any second now, and away they go! And Arnoux leads away. Torbay is going to come up alongside him as they go into Copse. The two Renaults are together. Round Copse Corner they go, the first five virtually as one, and one of the Renaults has slotted into second position, into third position, challenging, and Patrick Torbay is going to try and take René Arnoux on the inside, and he's done it. And Torbay leads. Arnoux is in second place, Prost is third, Patrese is fourth, Chiva is fifth, and Nelson Piquet is in sixth position.
And Elio De Angelis had a very poor start. That was Rosberg off on the grass there, giving it a little nudge, but he's back on in one piece. Elio De Angelis, who is one of the favourites for the race, certainly for speed. On the warm-up this morning, he was quickest, but he's off to a bad start, so he's going to have to fight hard to make up some ground in the new Lotus.
Torbay, Arnoux and Prost, lap 1, 67-lap race. Don't forget that we had an unofficial lap record at some 152 miles an hour. This is going to be the fastest Grand Prix of all time. It's going to be savoured by this enormous crowd. Under the bridge they come into Woodcote, lap 1. Ferrari leads, Torbay, Ferrari second, Arnoux. Then it is Alain Prost third, Patrese fourth, Chiva fifth. Elio De Angelis is in sixth position and has therefore passed Nelson Piquet. Elio De Angelis, the Italian driver in the new JPS Renault with the 1.5-litre turbocharged Renault engine, is in sixth position, and I think he is gaining. Now, and De Angelis stopping. De Angelis flaming his turbos. That's tragic luck. On lap 2, Elio De Angelis will be absolutely furious.
Yes, great shame to lose De Angelis so early on, because the car went really very well indeed in practice, and particularly well in race trim this morning, so that'll be a great disappointment to De Angelis and the Lotus team. Now here is Tambay, who looks to have settled into his task very quickly and very well. He's already taking it nice and steadily. He's not using all the road, not throwing the car about, looking after things, and seems to be just easing away slightly from teammate René Arnoux. Now, tires for pretty well all the teams, they're running very much on the limit of the softest compound they can use, and so keeping it smooth is going to be very important for the drivers, because if you throw the car around more than necessary, you heat the tires up more, and of course this can cause you a possibility to come in ahead of schedule for a pit stop.
Well, bad news for JPS Renault team right at the beginning with Elio De Angelis going out in 6th place on lap 2. But Nigel Mansell, who qualified in the previous car, is now in the new one and has come up in only one lap from 16th to 12th place. And Bruno Giacomelli into the pits. This is lap 3. Now, this could well be a sign of how the heat is going to affect cars, and it's not at all unlikely that one of the Ford Cosworth-powered cars, without the power of the turbocharged cars, although heaven knows they get about 520 horsepower, could come through into a very strong position at the end of this race, because the heat is going to be especially critical to the turbos. But now, on lap 3 in the 67th lap race, there is the position, and you just saw the leader, Patrick Tambay, who has already won this year. As you look at Bruno Giacomelli's car, here is Tambay coming into the chicane, followed by Arnoux and Prost, and the gap between Tambay, the leader, and Arnoux is 0.83 seconds, and we're still waiting. There goes Derek Warwick, and Nigel Mansell is now right in the wheel tracks of Derek Warwick, who is in 9th position. So Nigel Mansell in car number 12, the new JPS Renault, is starting to carve his way through the field. He has come up from 16th position to where he is now.
Yes, well, that's terrific news for Lotus and for Nigel. There is Nigel Mansell at the back of that bunch in the black JPS Lotus, and this should help to offset the great disappointment they must be feeling over De Angelis' performance, but it's terrific news for Nigel. He's had a really very troubled practice. Every little thing has gone wrong, as of course can happen with a brand new car. No criticism of the Lotus team, who in fact deserve the highest praise for their efforts in getting the car ready at all. They built this car very quickly for this race, and it must be very rewarding for them to see Nigel going so well. But now, of course, he's up with the turbos. He's dealt with the Cosworth-powered cars, but it's going to be a much more difficult task for him to get past Derek Warwick and get stuck in and chase the leaders. Now here we are, back to the leaders. Tambay leading across the start-finish line under the bridge and up to Copse Corner, with Prost in the Renault staying right with them, and Prost is in fact beginning to harry René Arnoux. He's beginning to look for a way by, and Patrese in the Brabham is ready to sweep up any errors as well. So these four leading cars look very evenly matched. Prost is now looking to get into the slipstream, get a tow down the straight, and we'll see. No, he doesn't have the power. You see, it looks, if anything, the Ferraris seems to have a little bit more power. He's quicker than the Renault on the straight, which is going to make things very difficult for Prost to get past, because he was in the slipstream, and even despite that, even with the hole in the air made by the Ferrari in front, he couldn't make any impression on the straight.
Lap 5 then. Patrick Tambay leads, Arnoux second, and it has been calculated that in practice form the Ferrari engines are generating over 800 brake horsepower, and in race form they've got more power than any other turbocharged car on the circuit. Tambay coming through the chicane. This is lap 6. Derek Warwick is in 8th position. Nigel Mansell in his wheel tracks is in 9th place. There is the leader, Tambay, and now there is Warwick and Mansell absolutely together. 8 and 9 coming down to Copse Corner. Look for the distinctive blue car of Derek Warwick, who was up to 2nd place at Brands Hatch in the British Grand Prix last year. And on lap 6 then, as we look at René Arnoux with in the Ferrari with Alain Prost in his wheel tracks. The order is Tambay, Arnoux, Prost, 4th is Patrese, 5th is Piquet, 6th is De Cesaris, 7th is Winkelhock, and Nigel Mansell is still 9th.
Yes, the power advantage of the Ferrari over the Renault is visible. If you watch carefully when they come out of Beckett's, each time Prost has been right on, and Eddie Cheever there just being pushed into the garage, so he's out. Obviously some sort of terminal mechanical failure with his car, so that's the end of his day's work. But if you watch, and when we go on,
that is sorry James, but that is Stefan Johansson driving in his first Grand Prix, in the first Grand Prix for the Spirit Honda. He's driving the car there that was in the Race of Champions, but he's clearly out of the British Grand Prix. And it's very close at the front now. Tournbay, Arnoux, Prost.
Now, if you watch, when they go up to, they're going up to Beckett's now. Out of Beckett's, you'll watch Prost, unless you can get him going into Beckett's, will be right behind the Ferrari, and then you can actually see the Ferrari accelerate out through the kink and pull away down the straight. That means it's got quite a big power advantage, probably 30 or more horsepower over there. And now here's Prost right behind him, and now you watch the Ferrari just pull the gap. Look at that acceleration advantage he's got. He's already pulled a couple of lengths, and he'll increase that as they go down the straight. Now this is really means it's going to be very difficult for Prost to overtake, because he needs to be able to pull up on Arnoux on the straight, and he's going to have to try and persuade Arnoux to make some sort of a mistake to let him get alongside, to get slow out of a corner.
Lap 7, over 1/10 distance already, and the leading non-turbocharged car is that of Niki Lauda, who is in 10th position. John Watson is in 14th place. And Derek Warwick in the turbocharged Tolman is in 8th place, ahead of Nigel Mansell, who is 9th. And now, as they go through at the end of their 7th lap and into their 8th, Tournbay and Arnoux, it's the same story. The two new C3 Ferraris. This is the first race that this Ferrari has taken part in. It is a development of the previous 126 turbocharged V6 Ferrari. It has Kevlar bodywork and chassis, and it's designed by Englishman Dr. Harvey Postlethwaite, working from Maranello in Italy. And so there, going through, is De Cesaris, followed by Winkelhock, followed by Warwick, and there is Mansell, who has dropped back a bit, still in 9th position. Niki Lauda is in 10th place and is still the leading non-turbocharged car. And Nigel Mansell has probably decided to settle down and see how things work out, because, as I said earlier on, the heat, the speed and the power of these turbocharged cars, Bruno Giacomelli is coming into the pits, is going to take a terrific toll later into the race.
Well, Eddie Cheever, the man who was second in the Canadian Grand-Prix, the man who joined Renault this season. What happened, Eddie?
My engine lost all its water after 2 or 3 laps. I don't understand why. It's a pity, because my car was running very well. We were keeping up with the Ferraris quite easily. I got away with a good start. Needless to say, I'm extremely frustrated. I've had 4 or 5 things that just happened to me this year. I hope my luck.
Eddie, thank you for talking to us. We're very sorry to see you standing here. Thank you.
Poor Eddie Cheever, 7th in the World Championship, and there's Tournbay. There's Tournbay leading on lap 9, and there's the Renault as they go storming down the long straight into Stowe Corner, which is a 150-mile-an-hour bend. There is René Arnoux. Prost is still that exact same distance behind him, and still in 4th position is Riccardo Patrese.
Well, it looks to me at the moment as if Prost is the fastest man on the circuit, but he can't show us that yet, because, as I've just discussed at length, he's stuck for power to get behind, to get past René Arnoux. In the meantime, they've just pulled away a little bit of a gap from Riccardo Patrese, so it looks as if they've got the legs on the Bradmore just about, but he's holding on pretty gamely, but they have opened that little bit. You'll see the cars as they go through the chicane, just putting a wheel on each curb as they go through it. Obviously, and Nelson Piquet seems to have gone missing. We'll see if we can find him or see him parked in the circuit somewhere.
That's Patrese. Riccardo Patrese would seem to be in trouble. He's slowed right down, and it's going to be another non-finish for Riccardo Patrese, the most unhappy and unfortunate Italian driver who won at Monaco last year.
Yes, made error there. It was Piquet is still there. That was Patrese who had slowed down, so that was my mistake. Apologies.
Well, Riccardo Patrese then, he's failed to win, failed to finish a single race and to score a single point, and he'll be very, very unhappy about this, because already there is talk in the paddock lane that Riccardo Patrese will not be driving, and look at that for Brabham next year. that he's going to be replaced for someone else, and significantly, I saw Johnny Cicotto talking to Bernie Ecclestone today. You can make something out of a chance meeting here, which may not be true, but the danger signals are showing as far as Riccardo Patrese is concerned, as he very unhappily pulls out of the British Grand Prix, as have Elio De Angelis and Eddie Cheever, and we are on lap 11, and the order is Patrick Tambay, who is leading René Arnoux by just over a second, and there he is. And as you can see, behind René Arnoux is the yellow Renault of Prost. There is the fourth man, Nelson Piquet. So there's still four drivers very close together. Andrea De Cesaris in the Alfa Romeo is fifth. Manfred Winkelhock in the ATS BMW is sixth. Derek Warwick and Nigel Mansell are still 7th and 8th. Lauda is 9th from the leading non-turbocharged car. Mauro Baldi is 10th. Keke Rosberg, the world champion, is thundering along in 11th place, just ahead of John Watson, who is 12th. And this is lap 11 as we watch Prost and Arnoux fighting for second place. Arnoux holding the racing line all the way round, and as James says, making it very, very difficult indeed for anybody to pass him, as up to Ghinzani in the Osella comes Patrick Tambay, going through to complete his 11th lap. Now there is Ghinzani moving over to let Tambay through. He'll stay on the inside line, will he, to let Arnoux and Prost through? He does. And meantime, it seems to me that Nelson Piquet is gaining a bit on the battle for second.
Yes, that was good manners by Ghinzani, correct thing to do. He spotted the leaders coming in his mirror. You see that's Prost closing up again on René Arnoux, and only to be frustrated probably again by the long straight. He's right up his gearbox now, and you watch that Ferrari pull away. And that's one of the most soul-destroying situations for a driver to be in a car that doesn't have power of the one in front, and every time you line up behind him in the corner, catch him up in the corner, then he just puts his foot down and walks away from you. And Piquet has now come up and joined that group, so we've now got a three-car battle for second place, with of course Tambay not enjoying what you'd call a comfortable cushion in front either. So
well, there's only just under 4 seconds between Tambay, the leader, and Piquet, who is in 4th position, as again Prost closes on Arnoux. And it seems to me that Prost in 3rd position is much better on the braking as they go into the corners than René Arnoux. They're on different tyres. Arnoux is using Goodyear and Prost is using Michelin.
And Prost looks to me to be, no, he's not close enough to have a go, you see. He needs to really be alongside René Arnoux as they come up here. Prost is really having a go. He's climbing all over him, but now there you are. Look at that gap already, 5 lengths clear. The Ferrari pulled in a matter of a couple of 100 yards. It's that Ferrari engine must really be putting out some power, because the Renault is no slouch, that's for sure.
650 horsepower in race trim the Ferrari is alleged to have, even more than the Renault. And the two Frenchmen who are in 2nd and 3rd places are, of course, very strong, not to say bitter rivals. Don't forget that René Arnoux in the red Ferrari there, who is in 2nd place, was in the same team as Alain Prost last year. René Arnoux won the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard against orders when he was supposed to let Prost through to win, and after that Prost would have nothing to do with him. And as a result of that, Arnoux left the Renault team, and now Prost will be very, very anxious to get through, and he's doing it. He goes through beautifully on the inside at Copse on lap 14. Alain Prost in the Renault has gone through and taken 2nd place.
Terrific stuff, and Piquet's now having a look at René Arnoux, and I have to say Prost did a magnificent bit of overtaking there, because he definitely caught Arnoux napping then. Arnoux was not expecting him to have a go. He'd positioned himself well. He'd done the right thing by not giving him any indication that that was where he was going to have his go, and that was a sort of very intelligent approach to it that you'd expect from Alain Prost, because he puts plenty of brain power into his driving, and that is a very necessary ingredient for being successful in this business. And Alain Prost already has pulled away, and it's going to be no time at all before he catches Arnu's teammate, Patrick Tombe, who so far has had a comfortable race, but I think Prost is about to change that and try and make it a bit uncomfortable for him and bring him under some pressure.
And now Nelson Piquet, the 1981 world champion, is going to attack René Arnoux. And don't forget that we've still got the refueling stops, which could well transform this race, with René Arnoux dropping back, with Prost pulling away, with Patrick Tombe still leading, with Nelson Piquet challenging for third position in the Brabham. And we are now on lap 15 out of 67, and the refueling stops are due to start on lap 29 when, if our information is correct, Manfred Winkelhock will be the first driver to pull in and take on fuel. And now Nelson Piquet in the superb, in my opinion, the best looking Grand Prix car of them all, the Brabham BMW designed by Gordon Murray, is pushing René Arnoux very, very hard indeed.
Yes, things should be a little bit easier for Nelson Piquet than it was for Alain Prost, because he can't do it here. It's just a dab on the brakes, there isn't the room. But the Brabham seems to be quicker in a straight line than the Renault, and he doesn't seem to be walked away from to quite the extent that Prost was suffering. But the Ferrari is still enjoying a power advantage. There's no doubt that he's putting away, and it must be a considerable one, because the Brabham is probably the most slippery of the current crop of cars aerodynamically.
There is 0.32 of a second between these two cars, and all the time, of course, Patrick Tombe in the lead is ahead of both of them.
They had a little nervous glance in the mirror from Arnoux approaching Copse Corner there to see if Nelson Piquet was going to do the same thing to him that Prost had done a couple of laps earlier.
It is very, very hot and getting hotter. It is sultry, it is very humid. The cockpit temperatures, I would not be at all surprised to find, were of the order of 130 degrees. And there's the flame from Nelson Piquet's turbocharger as it pushes out through the wastegate and the secondary exhaust pipe, and Piquet now comes up alongside Arnoux, and they're going through, passing Marc Surer in the arrows and lapping him. Arnoux had to move aside a little late, which gave Piquet the opportunity to close up, but Arnoux shut the door in his face, and now they're coming up to Woodcote to complete lap 16.
I thought Piquet might have made a bit more of that situation if he'd gone back to the outside of the track more quickly and got a good clean line through the corner. I tucked in behind Arnoux and then had a run at him coming up under the bridge, but it's very hard to tell from here. He's down there in the cockpit, and things can very often look easier from our comfortable perch, albeit rather a hot one.
Lap 17, and with Patrick Tombe in the lead and increasing it, there he is. There's a long gap now between himself and René Arnoux, because, as we have said before, Patrick Tombe has got a clear track in front of him, except for passing tail-enders, which he can do quickly and cleanly. Whereas Arnoux has got to try and keep Prost back, and Prost has got to try and get past, as he has done, Arnoux. And now Prost is closing right up on Patrick Tombe. There's Piquet closing up on Arnoux. So Prost is catching Tombe, and Piquet is right with Arnoux.
It's interesting, Prost has not caught Tombe as quickly as I'd expected him to, which is good news for a close race, because it means that even if Prost can get by Tombe, he's not going to romp away. And bear in mind that the leading runners are all going to make pit stops during this race, as a result of which we can get the sort of lead that anybody is going to enjoy, I think, can be very quickly and easily negated by the pit stop.
Lap 18, and as we look at the battle between René Arnoux and Nelson Piquet for third position, and there it is, Patrick Tombe leads, Prost right behind him. This is the battle for third. In fifth position is Andrea de Cesaris, and there is Patrick Tombe on the right, with in the Renault behind him Alain Prost, thundering down to Stowe Corner, which they take, believe it or not, at 150 miles an hour in fourth gear. Change up into fifth gear about now. Down into fourth for Club Corner, one of the most difficult on the course. Now fifth gear building up to a speed of 195 miles an hour as they approach Woodcote. And as they go into the chicane, Patrick Tambay leading. Alain Prost has caught him. They're catching up now with Danny Sullivan in the Benetton Tyrrell. In third position, it is René Arnoux. In fourth place, it is Nelson Piquet. Fifth is Andrea De Cesaris. In sixth position, it is Winkelhock. Seventh now is Nigel Mansell, who has got ahead of the new eighth place man, Derek Warwick. Ninth from the leading non-turbo, Niki Lauda. 10th, Baldi. 11th, Watson. And in 12th position, world champion, Keke Rosberg. That is the situation, but there is still a long way to go.
Gran-Pri, Patrick Tambay was leading in the Ferrari from Alain Prost in the Renault. Well, since then, we've had a change of leadership, and this is what happened on lap 20.
Well, is Prost catching Patrick Tambay? He has taken a lot out of the Frenchman's lead. But, as we have said many times in the past, catching is one thing, passing another. But either way, it is two Frenchmen in, respectively, Ferrari and Renault cars up at the front.
Yes, and Tambay is a very experienced and intelligent driver these days, and he's not going to make any mistakes. He knows that the one way to lose his lead is to go at it too aggressively and make another slip. So he's just going to keep it nice and steady. But
and Nelson Piquet is through and past, and Prost takes the lead on lap 20. Alain Prost takes the lead from Patrick Tambay in the Ferrari, and Nelson Piquet takes third position from René Arnoux. So a dramatic change. And there is Nelson Piquet, the Brazilian in the Brabham BMW. He is through into third. The race in the twinkling of an eye has changed. The race for the lead has changed. The race for third place has changed.
Yes, and Piquet's pulling away from Arnoux pretty quickly. I think Arnoux may be possibly in a little bit of tyre trouble, but it's a question now. And here we see it again, and you see Prost. It's exactly the same manoeuvre that he did to Tambay's teammate, René Arnoux. Nips through on the inside at Copse Corner, nice and steady, nice and clean, and he's off and running, and he can build up enough lead by around there, enough Beckett's to be clear for the straight.
So Prost leading the race and, of course, the World Championship. Well, the race has moved on now about 10 laps since then, so let's go live to Murray Walker.
You left us on lap 19 with Patrick Tambay in the lead. Prost second, Arnoux third, Piquet fourth, and Nigel Mansell in seventh position. Almost immediately, the situation changed. Alain Prost surged past Patrick Tambay to take the lead. Nelson Piquet passed René Arnoux to take third position, and now Patrick Tambay and Nelson Piquet are slugging it out for second position.
See Piquet having a go then. Piquet was inside Tambay, going into Beckett's. He didn't quite make it, but he's really attacking it. And he's in position now, and yes, and Piquet, oh, and it's very crowded indeed there. And Tambay's fighting back side by side. Round Stowe Corner, terrific stuff, and I have to say that was very bad luck on Piquet because the back marker undoubtedly got in the way, and that was to Tambay's advantage. So Piquet a bit unlucky when he finally was in position, but he's also in good position now to have a go under braking if he can stay that close as they go up under the Daily Express Bridge. And Piquet, can he duck out? He's having a go, and he's done it. He's got inside. Oh, it's all a bit tight. He slid wide, but he's held it together, and that was very much on the limit stuff. Piquet was only just slowed down enough to make it into the chicane. He went a little bit wide, but 10 out of 10 for it. A fine piece of overtaking, and Tambay did everything he could to resist it.
And does that not show how these Formula One Grand Prix drivers trust and respect each other? Because Patrick Tambay gave way at the very last moment. He didn't attempt to bang wheels or bully his way through and keep Piquet back. And as a result, Nelson Piquet, who started on the grid comparatively far back for him because he was in 5th position, has now fought his way up into 2nd place.
Nelson, here we go. See it again. Now, right on the limit, you'll see these drivers are really having a go. Now, you see Piquet, he's really struggling to get into the corner. He misses the apex. Look, he doesn't make the apex, and he's a little bit wide, but Tambay hasn't got the space to repass, and now he's got it gathered up together again, and he's off and running and clear. Now, we have a situation where Piquet is some 9 seconds. That's John Watson making his pit stop. That's McLaren's making a scheduled stop.
This is the first pit stop for refueling that McLaren have ever made. You'll notice their different clothes, their uniforms. They've got angled petrol fillers, and John Watson gets away in. And into the pits now comes René Arnoux in the Ferrari in 4th place, and this is lap 33. Let us see how the well-drilled Ferrari team in their immaculate uniforms and helmets deal with it. In goes the hose. Off come the wheels already with 5 seconds gone. A really good pit stop can be done in 12 seconds, and by now René Arnoux will have lost 4th place to Andrea De Cesaris. He goes out in 15.45 seconds. Andrea De Cesaris will have moved up into 4th position, and Nigel Mansell will be challenging René Arnoux very hard as he comes back onto the circuit at Copse.
Well, not a bad stop by Ferrari, and not a bad one for the first time by the McLaren team, but I think Watson appeared to be having trouble getting the car into gear or something, but they got him moving again, so, but they lost a couple of seconds actually getting the car to roll once the work was done.
Now, Alain Prost is leading Nelson Piquet by less than 12 seconds, and Nelson Piquet is definitely the man to watch as we see Roberto Guerrero being passed in his Theodore by Patrick Tambay.
Yes, and a lot of pressure now on the Brabham team to turn Piquet round quickly when he comes in for his stop. They've been very, very good at it. They have probably the best record for good pit stops of any of the teams. They were the first to do it. But now it's a real crunch moment for them. Home Grand Prix under pressure, because if they can do a really good one, they may well help Piquet's cause by 3 or 4 seconds over the Renault team, who traditionally haven't been quite as quick. But the pressure being any sort of panic or over-enthusiastic haste tends to end up in a mess, and you can lose time. So the pit stop really has to be cool. 12.8 seconds is the gap that we see there, and we're going to keep looking at that gap to see if Piquet is making any impression on Alain Prost on the road.
Well, Nelson Piquet is not due to pit stop until lap 38, but Alain Prost is due to pit stop on lap 34, and we're now on lap 35. So Alain Prost will be coming in any moment now, and Nelson Piquet will then go through into the lead. And as James says, everything will depend on how fast, comparatively, Alain Prost and Nelson Piquet's pit stops were. Prost leading on lap 35. Into the pits now is coming Andrea De Cesaris, who is in 4th position in the Alfa Romeo. And there is the Ligier of Jean-Pierre Jarier, but the Alfa Romeo of Andrea De Cesaris is also in the pits for refueling, and he's in 4th position as out of the pits goes number 25, Jean-Pierre Jarier, 16.4 seconds. That's 1 second longer than René Arnoux' car. And now they're the Renault pitmen ready, and on the other side of that board, which has 16 on it, is the number 15. And that is to show Alain Prost exactly where he has got to stop. That Renault official there is Alain Prost leading the British Grand Prix on lap 36, while calmly in his pit position wait the Renault mechanics, the refuelers, the tyre changers, the man who's got to hold the board to show him exactly where to stop, and most vitally, the pneumatic hammer operators and the 2 men, front and rear, who have to operate the jacks to lift the Renault off the ground and enable those wheels to come off. And of course, it is the driver's responsibility to put the brakes on when the wheels are off the ground to stop them going round. And Alain Prost actually forgot to do that in one of the races and made things extremely difficult for his technicians. Niki Lauda is coming into the pits. Here he is. Niki Lauda, number 8, double world champion, and he is now in 6th position. And as I talk to you, Nigel Mansell is up into 5th position. So there is Niki Lauda.
And Alan Prost is now coming into the pits. So Prost is, there is Prost. Now they're giving it, it's a bit of a tight pit road, and of course they're still racing now, so he's giving it full pace, doing a good 120 up the pit road, slowing down now. There's his board, he has to follow the line, stop in exactly the right place, and as Murray rightly said, keep the foot on the brake, otherwise the mechanics can't get the rear wheels on because they roll. And Tombe is also coming to the pit, so they're all coming in at once. And Renault going, very, very good stop by the Renault team, 14 seconds. And here we are, the Ferrari team already at work on Tombe's car. We haven't got a... There's the clock running on them.
Yes, I have a stopwatch running. Actually, it's now 13 seconds since Patrick Tombe stopped. It looks to me as though he's going to be a whisker slower. No, he gets away only 0.65 seconds between Alain Prost and Patrick Tombe's stops.
And that was... see the cold tires as he smoked away with the rear wheels spinning like mad. So there is Prost out warming up his fresh set of tyres, and he's purring past one of the slower cars on the straight, but he won't want to be too quick through this corner till he's got his new set of tyres nice and hot, and that was Rosberg that he actually passed there.
Yes, what a sign of the times when, as you rightly say, Alain Prost passed one of the slower cars, and that slower car is driven by no less a man than the world champion. Well, now Alain Prost is leading. Now it is going to be very close between him and Nelson Piquet, because Piquet of course has gone into the lead with Alain Prost having stopped. And the really critical thing is going to be how long it takes Nelson Piquet to have his pit stop, and he's due in on this lap actually. And we're keeping our eyes peeled. There goes Nigel Mansell, who is now up into 4th position, believe it or not, thanks to all the pit stops. Nigel Mansell in 4th place. A brilliant performance in the brand new first race John Player Special Lotus with its Renault V6 turbocharged engine. And Nigel Mansell now getting his revenge for all the bitter disappointments that he has suffered during 1983 and 1982 for that matter, showing that, as we all knew, he is a really superb Grand Prix driver. The highest place that Nigel Mansell has ever finished is 3rd position, and with Nigel now up into 4th place, Piquet leading, Prost is in 2nd place, in 3rd position. Now going through, now thanks to the pit stops, Nigel Mansell that we are looking at is moved up yet another place. He's in 3rd position. This is great news, and I need hardly say that all the British enthusiasts around Silverstone are absolutely wrapped in excitement. Mansell goes through, he blasts his way across the line, and he, Nigel Mansell, in the new John Player Special, is due to come in practically, yes, last of all. He's due to come in on lap 43. And now on lap 39 in this 67 lap race, Piquet leads but has yet to make his pit stop, which he is due to do on this lap.
Yes, they're going to have to do, the Brabham team are going to have to do a really fast stop to get Piquet turned around, because Prost was sufficiently efficient in his stop that he's only 16 seconds behind Piquet on the road, and Piquet, of course, has yet to stop. Mansell's position at 3rd on the road is a little bit of a false one at the moment, of course, because he has yet to make his stop, but he's put on a superb performance, and if the Lotus team can turn him around quickly, they will, he may make up a couple of places on his, as it were, true position. There is Nelson Piquet. He's due in the next lap. Whether he'll come or not remains to be seen, but I would think so.
Well, while James has been talking, I've put the gap, a stopwatch on the gap between Piquet there and Prost, who is in 2nd place. Prost having pit stopped, Piquet not having pit stopped, and the gap is 15.8 seconds. Now, Alain Prost's pit stop was 14 seconds, so everything in this race is going to hang on how efficient and quick is Nelson Piquet's pit stop. The enormously experienced Brazilian now, 30 years old, and in his time, 72 Grand Prix, he has won 8 of them. He's had 7 fastest laps, the world champion of 1981, and he devoted 1982 quite deliberately to developing with Gordon Murray and Paul Rocher the new BMW engine. And is he coming in this time? No,
no, he's gone to the left-hand side of the road, so he's doing another lap. I'll try and have a look at his pit board, see if they're calling him in. Somebody's lost some bodywork on the track. There's a lump of Ligier-looking bodywork. I can't be sure. They'll want to remove that. But all excitement, that bit of bodywork, I didn't manage to see whether Piquet's pit had called him in or not, but must come soon.
Well, it's a tasty bit of Ligier bodywork. It looks like the bit behind the driver's head that's come off that slots in around the roll bar, but it couldn't be in a worse place. As you see, it's right in the middle of the track, I think on the entrance to Cox. There is Nelson Piquet. Now, it is of critical importance to watch Piquet, who is in the lead, Prost, who is second, continually to take the gap between them, because there is Piquet going through. It was 15.8 seconds, the gap, when I last took it, and it could be that now Nelson Piquet, who's coming up to the 165 mile-an-hour Abbey curve, is going to come in this lap. He looks at me as though he's coming in.
Yes, he's coming in this time, and they're going to have to really shift this pit stop. He's not going to get out in front of Prost, that's for sure, but it's a question of whether he can get out in striking distance. And also, interesting, we won't be able to tell from here, Brabham change the compound of his tyre or anything like that, because Prost was certainly going very quickly and quicker than Piquet when he got out on his fresh set. Right. Stop.
2 men on each wheel, 1 on the hose, and look how quickly those pneumatic hammers stop, and it's got an inbuilt jacking system, and 12.26 seconds gives Nelson Piquet a 1.8 second advantage over Alain Prost, and he's being held up coming out of the pits.
Yes, that's very bad. That poor Piquet hasn't. The little bits and pieces of luck haven't really been with him in this race, but it remains to be seen. We'll give him a lap to warm his tyres up and then give you a gap on how far behind Prost is. Magnificent wheel changing effort by the Brabham team, truly spectacularly quick. They're going to have to find a way to get that fuel in a lot faster somehow in order to catch up with their newfound ability to swap the wheels over like lightning. Fantastic effort by the Brabham team.
We are on lap 42 in this 67 lap race. It's a very, very close thing. There is Nigel Mansell, who is in 3rd position still. He has come up from 18th position on the grid to 3rd position on the track in his first race in the new Gerard Ducar Rouge designed John Player Special 94T with the Renault engine. And if ever anybody made a magnificent investment, Lotus made one in taking Gerard Ducar Rouge, the ex-Alfa Romeo and the ex-Ligier designer, on to produce a new car for them, because that is it. And the really dramatic story about Nigel Mansell is that last night a completely new loom was made for his car's wiring system, and that was fitted first thing this morning, and instantaneously it cured the problems. And there is Keke Rosberg, the reigning world champion, in 9th position when he came into the pits. He's completed his pit stop, or has he? He's a bit slow getting away. But Keke Rosberg, the world champion, and I can't give you a time, I'm sorry, because we didn't see him come in, although we saw him go out. But knowing the Williams team, it will have been a very quick one. And there is Alain Prost. The question is, where on the track is Nelson Piquet? And you see that Nigel Mansell, joy of joys for British enthusiasts, is now in 2nd position. But as James said earlier, that's a slightly false reading, because Nigel Mansell has yet to make a pit stop. But that takes nothing away from his superb performance, the highest he's ever been in a Grand Prix, and here he is, into the pits. Now you can see the lines of the new John Player Special 94T. Nigel Mansell at the wheel, the man from Hall Green, who now lives at Port Erin in the Isle of Man, and he stops his car now. The Lotus team comparatively unused to this pressure system because they originally started off with a gravity system, but it's not at all a bad stop. And away he goes, 13 seconds. That is great stuff.
Yes, very good effort again by the Lotus team, particularly as they've been working all-nighters and round the clock to get the car ready, and can't have had a lot of time to spend on practicing pit stops, because if they'd done that, they wouldn't have had a car to practice on. So, full marks for the Lotus team.
Well, and now there is only about 15 seconds on the track on lap 44 out of 67 between Alain Prost, who is leading the race, and Nigel Mansell, who is now in third position, with Nelson Piquet in second place, having passed Mansell while he was stationary in the pits. And there, to bring us back to some understanding of what exactly is happening now on this about two-thirds distance race, we look at Alain Prost.
Yes, and Prost is now enjoying something like a 15-second lead over 16 over Nelson Piquet, and that lead he seems to be extending slowly, gently. So Prost looks to be very much in command of the race. 17.5 seconds it's up to now, so he is actually pulling away from Nelson Piquet, and it really looks now as if Alain Prost has everything well under control. He's in only mechanical reliability of any potential mistakes between him and victory.
This is lap 45 out of 67. We are into the closing stages of the 36th British Grand Prix, and there is the race leader, Alain Prost, in the Renault, on his way to his 8th Grand Prix win. But whilst the Renault has failed with Prost at the wheel in the lead before on many occasions, it is unlikely to do so in this race, because Renault seem to have got their reliability right. In second place now, it is Nelson Piquet in third position, and there's a change. Patrick Tambay has regained that third position. In fourth place, it is Andrea de Cesaris. In fifth position, it is René Arnoux. And down to sixth place as a result of his pit stop has gone Nigel Mansell. But
on lap 46 with Alain Prost out front from Nelson Piquet. Let's rejoin it now for the rest of the race with Murray Walker.
And as you rejoin us, there is Alain Prost negotiating the chicane to complete his 52nd lap in the lead. In the lead from Nelson Piquet, who is ahead of the third place man, Patrick Tambay, by about 8 seconds. But the real drama is that Nigel Mansell in the new John Player Special Renault, and there he is, 94T, designed by Gérard Ducarouge, its very first race. Nigel Mansell is in fourth place and some 19 seconds behind the third place man, Patrick Tambay, coming up to complete his 52nd lap in the 67 lap race, having driven, I think it is fair to say, the race of his life, because Mansell suffered the most appalling frustrations in practice. They got his car right, and he's certainly using it.
Yes, marvellous, marvellous effort. He now, though, is going to need mechanical failure or problems to make up any further places, because he's not catching Tambay fast enough to catch him before the end. He's only got 15 or 16 laps, 15 laps left to do it in, and that gap is too big. But plenty of mileage for things to go wrong for anybody up front, including, of course, Nigel himself. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that he has no dramas and just keeps plugging away.
Lap 53, the order. Alain Prost leads Nelson Piquet by 16 seconds. Patrick Tambay is third, 8 seconds behind Piquet. Nigel Mansell is fourth. In fifth position is René Arnoux. Sixth is Niki Lauda in the World Championship points, leading non-turbo car. In seventh place is Mauro Baldi. Eighth is Andrea de Cesaris. Ninth is John Watson. 10th is Jarier. 11th is world champion Keke Rosberg. 12th is Alboreto. 13th Lafitte. 14th Sullivan. Then 15th Boutsen. 16th Guerrero. 17th Winkelhock. 18th Sura. 19th Brazil. And in 20th position, but now 6 laps adrift, is Piercarlo Ghinzani. And effectively, there are 10 cars left in the race because there have been quite a lot of retirements, and those places I gave you included the positions in lieu of those lost laps. And that is Niki Lauda, who is still holding that 6th position, the World Championship point.
Yes, very good race that Lauda and his McLaren is having, the Marlboro McLaren, going under the bridge.
Boutsen.
There's that breaking Thierry Boutsen, who's made such a good, promising debut to his Grand Prix career. That McLarens must be very pleased with the performance of their car in this race, leading normally aspirated car, and has been right there all through the meeting, because of course they've got their turbo engine running now. It's in a workhorse chassis which isn't built up for Grand Prix specification, hasn't got the full tanks and everything like that in it. They're very pleased with the performance of that car, and the McLaren team are working flat out on getting there. Goes Nelson Piquet, nipping past the back markers, see how quickly he catches Niki Lauda. But McLaren's hope to have their chassis ready within a month's time and running with the turbo engine in it. They were a little bit let down by Porsche in getting the car ready, because they needed a dummy engine several months ago in order to start building the chassis. And although Porsche delivered them a running engine on time, that was the first they ever saw of it. They never got the dummy in order to start building their chassis. So and that's a necessary thing, because you build the chassis round the engine. And so they were a bit held up. But the engine has proved extremely satisfying, particularly as a brand new, straight out of the box product so far in the testing that they've done.
Niki Lauda, 6th position, albeit lapped by Alain Prost, and Nigel Mansell is, albeit slowly, catching Nelson Piquet. The gap is down to 15.8 seconds, to Patrick Tambay, I'm sorry. The gap between Tambay, who is 3rd, and Mansell, who is 4th, is down to under 16 seconds. But Mansell is not catching the Frenchman, Patrick Tambay, in the Ferrari fast enough to gain that 3rd position by the end of the race, unless Patrick Tambay has to slow. There is the 2nd place man, Nelson Piquet, on his way to 6 points in the World Championship. And the interesting thing at the moment is that the race leader, Alain Prost, is also the World Championship leader. The 2nd man in the race is also 2nd in the World Championship, and the 3rd man in the race is 2nd in the World Championship, Patrick Tambay, tying with Nelson Piquet. So the World Championship positions, as far as the first 3 places, there is Prost, are going to be very little changed, but all the time Alain Prost, thanks to this, for him, marvellous newfound reliability as Piquet passes Lauda of Prost's Renault, is increasing his points advantage. He has 30 points at the moment. He will get 9 if he wins this race, which seems very likely because he's now on his 57th lap out of 67. Nelson Piquet, who is in 2nd place, would get 6 points and make him 33, so the gap would increase from 3 points between Prost and Piquet to 6 points. And Piquet would have a solid 2nd place just ahead of Patrick Tambay. But all this remains to be seen, because the race is far from completed. Alain Prost, that we look at now, on his way in car number 15, the very smooth, very quiet, beautifully handling, brand new chassis RE40 car. It's the first time Prost, who's just nipped inside Keke Rosberg, has driven this particular car in a race. It's the RE40 and a brand new tub and all the rest of the machinery. And he's on his way now to his 8th Grand Prix win in a very short Grand Prix career.
Considering the weather, I must say really a word of congratulation to all the teams, because racing cars, their unreliability factor goes up rather sharply with an increase in temperature, and we've got a lot of cars running still for such extreme conditions for these cars, and that is generally good engineering effort by all the teams.
Patrick Tambay going into Cox and now out of Cox. That's the right-hander after the start, 125 miles an hour. He's coming up to Jacques Lafitte, who is well down, 13th position. It's been a pretty unhappy meeting for Lafitte. he was way out of form in practice, and Lafitte was right down in 20th place on the grid when this race started, which is most unlike him. He tends not to practice very well, but to be a real charger in the race. And as you can see, Jack Lafitte has got the Tyrrell of Michele Alboreto, who of course won at Detroit this year, and is using one of the latest Ford Cosworth DFY engines in front of him. And behind him, he's got the third place man in the race, Patrick Tambay, and the gap between Tambay and Mansell is now down to 13.2 seconds. And it could well be that Tambay has been delayed a bit. Now, as they come out of the chicane, I will take the gap, because Mansell is closing much quicker than I expected him to. It was 18 seconds and then 16 seconds. Now you've seen on your screens that it's 13 seconds, and Mansell's going into and out of, and the gap is now down to 11 seconds. So if that is true, and it is true, I've just done it on my own watch, Nigel Mansell is gaining quite rapidly on Tambay, but he's on lap 59. It's a 67-lap race, and I don't think he can do it.
I don't think he can, but it is still within the bounds of distant possibility. And if Tambay gets delayed by any more back markers or anything like that, then Mansell has a chance. Of course, he's not only got to catch him to make it worth his while, he's got to pass him as well. And we've already seen how difficult that is, because the Ferrari, without a doubt, has the most power of all the turbos, which means of all the cars. So he's got to do it. But we'll keep rooting for it, because it's a really marvellous effort by Nigel Mansell. He had such a frustrating and disappointing practice session, and he really deserves a bit of a break. And this is certainly an excellent race for him.
Yeah, now he's got what used to be regarded as the hard man of racing to pass, Andrea de Cesaris, in front of him. But Andrea de Cesaris has been given a clean bill of health as far as passing is concerned recently by no less a man than Keke Rosberg, who had very little, if any, time for Andrea de Cesaris in the past. But when he's got past de Cesaris, don't forget that Nigel Mansell has still got to catch and pass Michele Alboreto and Keke Rosberg, which Patrick Tambay has already done, before he can get to grips with Patrick Tambay. So Nigel Mansell would seem to have an absolutely insuperable task in front of him. Andrea de Cesaris, number 22, in the Euro Racing Alfa Romeo with its V12 3-litre non-turbocharged engine, then leading the turbo Renault powered car of Nigel Mansell, who is in 4th place and who is on his 60th lap, which the leader, Alain Prost, has already completed. And I think this is putting paid to any chances of Nigel Mansell getting that 3rd position. Piquet has gone through to complete the lap. I'm waiting, as you watch Nigel Mansell, for Patrick Tambay, so that I can give you the gap.
He's finally got by, but that's a setback that Nigel could definitely have done without. He must have lost some time behind de Cesaris. De Cesaris is not necessary to have known that Nigel was in a big battle, so you can't particularly blame him. There wasn't much difference in speed, but that may have just about cost Mansell the chance, the distant chance, to catch Tambay and have a crack at 3rd.
Alain Prost leading number 15. Nigel Mansell may have lost a little time, but it was very little. It's not so much, it's what he would have gained, I think. The gap is still just under 12 seconds between Patrick Tambay in 3rd position, as we watch race leader Alain Prost going through the chicane to complete lap 61. The V6 turbocharged Renault sounding powerful and strong as Prost takes it round Copse Corner. This very phlegmatic Frenchman, who is known as the Professor amongst his French mechanics because of his serious demeanour, although he's a great practical joker as well, and woe betide anybody who walks between the edge of a swimming pool and Alain Prost, because they're very liable to end up in the water, and I've seen that happen on quite a few occasions. So, Alain Prost leading. He's on lap 62. Now, Nelson Piquet some 22 seconds behind, and seemingly having settled for 2nd place. Patrick Tambay is 9 seconds behind Piquet in 3rd position, but Nigel Mansell is gaining on Tambay in 4th position. Behind Nigel Mansell, it is René Arnoux. Therefore, there are 2 Ferraris in the top 6. And in 5th position, it is Niki Lauda, who has been lapped. In 6th position, and the last man to get World Championship points at the moment is Mauro Baldi. There, 4th position is Nigel Mansell. Now, what's the gap? This is critical. I'm watching out for Tambay. I'm watching out for Tambay as Nigel Mansell. There is Patrick Tambay coming up to the Daily Express Bridge, and there is Nigel Mansell clearing club, so it's getting much closer than it was. I'll put the stopwatch on Tambay as he exits the chicane now. And now you'll see Nigel Mansell in the black and gold JPS 94T behind Alboreto and the Alfa and Lafitte, and the gap is it's still 11, just over 11 seconds, and Nigel Mansell's got to fight his way through this mob in front of him before he can hope to get to grips. And we are on lap 63. On lap 63 with Prost leading, Piquet second. This man, Patrick Tambay, who has been a model of reliability and consistency this year, in 3rd position. 5th in Brazil, Patrick Tambay. Led Long Beach until he was punted off by Keke Rosberg. 4th in France, he won gloriously at San Marino. 4th at Monaco, 2nd in Belgium. Didn't finish in Detroit. 3rd in Canada, 2nd equal in the World Championship with 27 points. And he's in the running now for 4 more, with Nigel Mansell snapping at the heels of the Alfa Romeo and going through on the inside. Yes, beautifully. Passes Mauro Baldi. Now up to Michele Alboreto. A burst of power from the Renault engine, and he goes straight past Alboreto with the new DFY engine. And now Nigel Mansell, who is completing his 63rd lap, has got a clear track in front of him. And incidentally, if you are wondering why that piece of bodywork from the Ligier has not been cleared from the approach to Copse Corner, the answer is that even the superlatively official, competent British Motor Racing Marshals Club won't have had somebody who's fast enough to get from one side of the track to the other, pick up that piece of bodywork on the way without getting in the way of a driver. And therefore the best thing to do is to leave it exactly where it is, because all the drivers now have passed it many times and will know perfectly well where it is. Lap 65 for the race leader, Alain Prost. Nigel Mansell is going slower than he did before, although the gap as he exited the chicane was 11.8 seconds. He was just a little slow on the gear change as he exited the chicane. Gave me a moment's heart failure almost, but the JPS looks as though it's running strong and true. 4th position, and the leader, Alain Prost, has lapped everybody up to 5th position, René Arnoux. Alain Prost is on his 65th lap. There he is, just missing the Ligier headrest cover. Into Copse. 125 miles an hour, 4th gear. Up into 5th to take the left-hander at Maggots. Approaching 165 miles an hour. Now down into 3rd gear for the right-hander at Beckett's. 110 miles an hour, accelerate away, up into 4th gear now, into the sweeping left at Chapel, down the hanger straight, 5th gear, 180 miles an hour, building up in the turbocharged Renault to 190 miles an hour as he goes down to Stowe. And he's catching Thierry Boutsen, the Belgian driver, in the Arrows, who has driven a typically clean race. He is in 15th position in only his 4th Grand Prix. He's got the race leader coming up behind him, soon to lap him again, and soon to complete his 66th lap. And this is Alain Prost exiting the chicane to start which he has driven beautifully in.
Yes, well, this, assuming he completes his last lap without drama, that will give Alan Prost only a 6-point lead in the World Championship, which isn't a big one. But as I said earlier in the season, he has that look of a world champion about him already. He's driving with great maturity. The Renault team seem to have got their act together now with reliability. He's certainly been provided with a much more reliable car this year than he's had in the past. And they do look they definitely are the combination to beat at the moment. Prost did a magnificent race, not put a foot wrong, worked his way quietly to the front and then pulled slowly but surely away from the others. Their pit stop was efficient. It's been really a copybook race from his point of view.
Alain Prost, quiet, determined, very ambitious, is almost home to win his 10th Grand Prix to enhance his chances of becoming the first ever French world champion in Formula One Grand Prix racing through the chicane and approaching the checkered flag, which is ready, and Alain Prost has won now as he waves to receive the plaudits of the crowd. The second place man, Nelson Piquet, goes into the chicane. Third, Tombe. Fourth, Mansell. Fifth, Arnoux. And sixth, having been lapped, will be Niki Lauda. But there, Piquet has finished. Tombe has just crossed the line in the background. And you will see in a few moments Nigel Mansell, who is coming into the chicane to take a superb fourth place, having come up from 18th place on the grid, something that he and Lotus and JPS and everybody associated with them can be very, very proud of. There then is the position, a win for Prost and 9 points, second Piquet 6 points. Patrick Tourney gets 4 points for third position. Nigel Mansell gets 3 very well-deserved points for his fourth place. René Arnoux brings the second Ferrari into fifth place. And Niki Lauda gets a point for being in sixth position and the top non-turbo car. Nigel Mansell is obviously getting a tremendous wave from the crowd all the way round the course. He knows it, he deserves it, he acknowledges it. He tours in, as does Alain Prost. It's been a terrific British Grand Prix. We thought the heat was going to decimate the cars, and especially the turbos. They have all stood up to it extremely well. Best of all, the man that you see now going into the chicane in the very distinctive yellow and white Renault, and there is the World Championship situation updated to allow for Prost's win. Alain Prost, as I said, now leads Nelson Piquet by 6 points, and Piquet is just 2 points ahead of Tombe. No change in the first 3 places there. For that matter, no change in the first 4 places. Now, I'm wrong, because Piquet and Tombe have separated their second position. In fifth position, René Arnoux. 6, John Watson is still there, hanging on. And don't forget that John Watson, probably in the German Grand Prix, I would think almost certainly in the Austrian Grand Prix, will be driving a McLaren with the new V6 turbocharged TAG engine, designed and built by Porsche. And then we can really expect the sparks to fly from John Watson and Niki Lauda, who sandwich Eddie Cheever in 7th position in the World Championship, with Jacques Lafitte in 9th position. Well, the comment from this race is that the man is definitely Alain Prost, but what a tremendous drive too from Nelson Piquet, who wasn't really able to do anything about it, but fought through from a comparatively lowly position on the grid for him. Patrick Tombe, who had led, goes down to third position, gone through into third position, and Nigel Mansell, definitely, for my money, the man of the British Grand Prix of 1983. But James, what do you think?
Oh, I thought it was a very good, clean race. There were no accidents that we saw. There's been terrific effort of reliability in these really trying conditions for the teams, with considerable heat, and the turbo cars really stood up to it very well. We had very little in the way of mechanical failure. So generally the Ferraris, Piquet drove a sterling effort, but he was well beaten by Prost. He was very much on the limit as he was working his way up past the Ferraris and was driving with all his full fire and everything. But it was a dominating performance from Alain Prost. There he is.
Alain Prost. Alain, many congratulations on your first British Grand Prix victory at the circuit where Renault began their new Grand Prix career. How does it feel?
I'm very happy. I think I just drive today because my car was nearly fantastic. I think if I won today it's because my car was good, but also my tires were fantastic, much better than the Ferrari.
And a wonderful reception here, Alain, from the British crowd. You're obviously very popular here.
I hope so. I hope so, because, you know, 2 years ago I had to win the race, and I think I missed the championship 2 years ago. I think it's a good win for me today.
And Alain, last question, of course. You are now further ahead in the championship. Can you become the first Frenchman ever to win the World Championship?
You know, it's the third year I will try to be the World Championship. I will try again.
And Patrick Tombe thinks it's going to be him. Patrick, a good race for you. How was the new Ferrari?
Well, I'm number 3. You should talk to Nelson first. He came in second. Those two guys had a very good race here.
Nelson Piquet, a superb race, moved you into firm second place in the championship. How was it?
Well, it's very hard. Alan did a very good race. I have a lot of problem in the traffic in the beginning, but it's good. The engine is improving a lot, getting very strong all the time, and we're still on for the championship.
Yes, the championship's still wide open, isn't it?
Oh yes, we can have a lot of things.
3 very happy drivers, 1, 2 and 3 in the championship.
The German Grand Prix.